It's time now for the Sports Objective Podcast. No talking heads, just guys who love sports. Here's Dave Richmond.
Welcome into the Sports Objective Podcast. Our Pirates preview as Carolina Pirates hosting the Gardner Webb Bulldogs. Ladies and gentlemen, he is a Bulldog. He's our Bulldog. It's Kyle from Grange Barber. What's up, man?
I'm not sure how I feel about that one, Mark. What's going on, Dave?
I always like to throw it. I don't know where to go with there, but anyway, hey, Bubba Rosenbaum, what's up, man?
Good evening, guys.
I don't even know what I'm going to say, but that's what makes this show great.
Hey, the dog is Bubba. If I'm a Bulldog, you're undoubtedly a Shih Tzu. So what's
I'm a Greyhound.
You're a Greyhound.
That's a perfect. Right. Yeah, all right, I can get one. Yeah. He's fast and light.
You're really fast, but really ugly. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't say that, Bubba. He did.
Yeah.
But this show is going to the dogs for sure. But anyway, welcome in. We've got a huge show to talk about. In fact, Bubba, before we even get into our roundtable, we've got a big guest. Very proud to have a dear friend of mine on the show tonight.
Yeah, we do. A guy that's synonymous with East Carolina athletics. He's called, not only football, but men's basketball, and then also some baseball down through the years. And we're very excited to have the longtime voice of the Pirates, Jeff Charles, on the show. So that will be an interesting conversation with him.
Cool, neat story.
Going to be great.
Yeah, cool, neat story.
That's right. And a cool, neat story, by the way, as we've already alluded to in the previous podcast, Bubba was on assignment, is the fact that Gardner Webb, wait a minute, we're still waiting on, do we ever hear back from Gardner Webb?
We have not. Yeah, we've, I've reached out to
their... didn't we, Bubba? You tried.
We did. I reached out to their SID multiple times, left voicemails, no return phone calls, and then also certainly reached out to multiple beat writers, or not necessarily beat writers, but just reporters, not necessarily their beat writers, but guys that have written articles about Gardner Webb football this year and did not hear back from any of them. So, Pirate Nation and Gardner Webb fans, it's not because of a lack of trying.
Yeah, and lo and behold, I actually found there was a Gardner Webb football message board, if you can believe such things exist. Yeah. And Dave joined the board and reached out to the board administrator, and he didn't get back to it. So evidently, the only thing I can figure, guys, is people in Gardner Webb are so ashamed to be a part of Gardner Webb, they don't want to be heard on a podcast talking about Gardner Webb. That's the only thing I can figure.
I guess so. I mean, it was just I just wanted to make sure that folks know. I mean, we have so many people that are Gardner Webb fans who listen to this podcast. So
wow,
I know maybe they.
And Dave, for what it's worth, I also reached out to our good buddy with Hoist the Colors, Stephen Igo, and he was unable to reach out to or connect with anyone. He reached out, but unable to connect with anyone from Gardner Webb as well. So it wasn't just us. But
if I can't get anybody, that means that I don't feel too bad then. Because
do they have an SID? I mean, that's the whole thing. I wonder. I mean, maybe their SID is like also. Maybe he also teaches like history or something.
Well,
I mean, maybe
life skills.
Yeah, part time. I don't know. I mean, that's just unbelievable to me. The sports information director, Gardner Webb, is so bombarded with requests that he doesn't have time to get back to the Sports Objective. I mean, that's just unreal.
Well, the thing about it, guys, is I had actually, prior to the 2 or 3 times, if not more, that I'd reached out to him in the last week or two, I had also reached out to him back in July. So never heard back then. I mean, 2 months ago.
Well, the one thing I can tell you, folks, is
I would recommend, guys, it may be too late now, but just so they know, maybe someone should contact their athletic director and let them know that the SID is not doing his damn job.
It's actually the same person. The athletic director and the sports information director and the president of Gardner Webb are all the same person. So, in other words, if you try
it's like Andy. It's like Andy when he takes somebody to court after giving him a ticket and he's the damn circuit judge.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I'm sorry. I love you guys at Gardner Webb. I really do.
But
we wanted to make sure we wanted to make sure that everybody knew that normally on our previews we have not only ECU folks, but also we have the opposing team, and we tried really hard, and Bubba mostly, I'll give him credit as where credit's due. He tried really, really hard. Bubba
Maybe, you know what, I got an idea.
Oh, an idea.
How about we do this?
All right.
How about we just randomly call a number in Bowling Springs, and the first person we call gets on the phone, we ask them questions about Gardner Webb football.
What if they don't know anything about it?
Well, I mean, that's nobody else. I mean, that's fine. Evidently, that.
Hey, maybe that's the problem. Is the reason why they didn't answer is they don't know anything about the team.
Hey, maybe that's my mistake. I mean, I'm close enough to Gardner Webb. I mean, it's not, you know, it's not super close, but I mean, I guess maybe he thought, well, if this guy really wants to talk to somebody, then he'll come here. I don't know.
That would be great.
You get in your car.
I could see Kyle. I could see Bubba right now. He's camped out on You're going to talk to me. Do you hear me? You're going to. What was that?
I'm right outside of Pig Vomit's office, like in private parts with Howard Stern.
Who was the fan that told Cecil that you're going to talk?
That was my fellow LaGrange native,
William
Hardy.
William from LaGrange.
William Hardy.
Yeah, William Hardy. We're going to do. Bubba's going to do that tomorrow. He's going to go to Gardner Webb and say, "You're going to talk to me. I've left you voicemails, emails, and you wouldn't have anything to do with me." So, anyway,
I'm
folks,
serious. You know, I think it's too late now. Obviously, we're recording, but perhaps the AD should be. You know, you don't want to go run tail, but maybe someone should let the AD know, hey, this guy, you know, is not bothering to contact us back. I mean, let me ask y'all this. Bubba, you listen to a lot of the programming on Pirate Radio and all, and on
right
through the game. Has anybody from Gardner Webb been on any of their programming this week?
No, and I know Clip Brock, he was kind of taking a different approach, and this wasn't, I don't think it was because he couldn't get anyone else, and maybe it was, but yeah, probably, but no, Clip, you know, Tim Kraft, who had been on Jeff Lebo's staff, has done such an excellent job with Gardner Webb's men's basketball program, and he took them to the tournament this year and had Virginia, gave Virginia a little scare there, had them on the ropes at halftime, but of course the Cavs came back and won that ball game. But anyway, Clip was going to have Coach Kraft on, so I'm not sure if that has happened yet or not.
Well, I mean, this is insanity that Gardner Webb, you know, you would think they'd be happy to get any damn exposure they could, particularly in the eastern part of the state. You know, they're out west, and I don't know. It's utterly ridiculous. I don't understand.
The last thing I was going to say about this before we'll move on with the rest of the show, but it's like you're saying, I just found it so surprising because even the folks who have turned us down, and those folks were at some pretty big time programs. I mean, not necessarily to do interviews pertaining to the East Carolina games, but just other guests that would have been intriguing just from the college sports world. They at least responded to us and said that they appreciated the request, but they would have to, unfortunately, deny the request at that time.
Yes, and we're talking about people like Coach Sweeney at Clemson and Kurt Herbstreit. I mean,
Tony Bennett at UVA and something like that. I mean,
not you know. Anyway, we'll move on now and.
Yeah, but I will say, can we give? I want to give props and a shout out to Malcolm Gray and Tom McClellan, everybody at ECU, because they've been really good to us, and there's a lot of other places that have been good to us. So it's not every day that we go through this. So that's why
it's being mentioned, because it is an odyssey. We haven't experienced this, so
it's very odd.
But Bubba, what do you know about the Bulldogs? The running Bulldogs of Gardner Webb. Tell us. I know they run a similar defense to NC State in terms of scheme, not in terms of talent. But what do we know about Gardner Webb on defense and offense?
First of all, their coach Carroll McRae, he's a guy who pretty sure he is a Gardner Webb alum. So he's a guy that I know Donnie Kirkpatrick had some ties with, maybe going back to App State or somewhere.
Yeah, that's right.
But somewhere Coach DK had crossed paths with Coach McRae from Gardner Webb. But as far as schematically, I know offensively, they really like to run the football. A lot of times they'll be out of spread sets, whether it's a 4-wide look on 2x2, 3x1, what have you. But against Charlotte, they ran for about 150 yards, and they have a sophomore quarterback. That sophomore quarterback, he is a guy, Jordan Smith, a redshirt sophomore, and last year, kind of an up and down year as a freshman. He had 2 weeks where he was the Big South Freshman of the Week, but then he also had plenty of growing pains. He threw 14 picks compared to just 10 touchdowns, and he struggled against Charlotte. He was just 6 out of 17 for 60 yards, and he was sacked 5 times. He's a guy that I think if our front, Kendall Futrell and company, Bruce Bivens, et cetera, can get some heat on him, I think we can have some success, and that's what kind of it'll be interesting to see. They have some playmakers, some big targets, at least at wide receiver, some potential playmakers. A guy, you'll like this name, Kyle. I have a feeling what your response will be, but his name is Chuma Awana. And
Chuma, I could go several different responses there, but I'm going to give you what you want. You do, and you'll clean it up. Right.
That was so predictable, but guys, he is a grad transfer from Norfolk State, and he's about 6'3", 6'4", 215 or 20 pounds, so a huge target, like I was saying. And he had some opportunities to make plays in that game against Charlotte. I want to say he had a couple of catches, but there was a time or two where he was behind the secondary on a post route and so forth, but he was overshot by Jordan Smith, so that's something to keep an eye on with the Pirates' young secondary. And then you also have another receiver, a big target, 6'4", 216, and Isaiah Gathings, and he's right here in the Charlotte area. And so keep an eye on them. At running back, they play 3 or 4 considerable snaps, but the leader a week ago and a guy who led them in rushing last season is Jalen Cagle. So he had 19 carries for 84 yards against the 49ers, and last season he was just shy of 500 yards and 4 or 5 touchdowns. And along the offensive line, probably their top lineman is Brandon Leahy. So he's the guy that was up for preseason Big South honors.
His name sounds very familiar. I don't know why. Brandon Leahy. Where's he from? Do you know if he's an Eastern North Carolina kid?
I am not sure.
Okay. It's a very familiar sounding name. You mentioned, our young secondary. Coach Trott hinted that Colby Gore may be available this week. So that's good.
Yeah, well, basically, I was going to make
go
a
ahead,
point,
Dave.
guys. No, just really quickly that I think I told you guys off there, the biggest problem we've had is we were talking about on Sunday a little bit about the culture. Well, these guys have got to learn that there's a new sheriff in town. Montgomery's gone, and you're either going to do things Mike Houston's way, or I don't mean this to rhyme, but you're not going to play. And Colby Gore has been one that I've heard a lot. There's been a lot of rumors before the suspension that he was kind of one of these guys that Coach Houston was talking about. Said, hey, these guys, if they don't learn, they play a couple plays and they tap out. And he was one that I heard about that he. Let's just say that the best way I can say it is he was not giving 100%. I guess that's the best way to say it. And so that's why I don't know what happened, if that was the same reason for the suspension, but I can tell you that he's not been a player that the coaches have been happy with, especially, I mean, he should be leading this team, and I think that's one message that they're going to get across to this team. I want to give you guys a stat that I saw that I'm usually not a Bubba, but I was playing Bubba tonight, and I actually looked and saw a really interesting stat. Did you know that we are, I will say this in a good way, so you're going to read this, don't read this the wrong way. Did you know that we're in the top 20 in something? A stat, Bubba?
I did not.
This is actually a great, Kyle, you're going to love this. We are actually in the top 20, number 19 in the country, for the 19th youngest team in the country. We have 49 redshirt freshmen or true freshmen on our roster. So something like 46.6%. So the good news is, a lot of the reason I brought that up right behind that is that a guy like Colby Gore, well, you know what, guys? I remember my coach said, he said, if I can lose with seniors, I can lose with sophomores, meaning they'll get experience. And these freshmen are hungry. They don't know any better. They didn't play with Montgomery. And you got 49 freshmen, whether redshirt or true freshmen, they want to play. And so I really know it sounds corny to say, but the future's bright. You look at if we can have some kind of season that's 500, even 6-6, 7-5, somewhere in there, or even
hard.
5-7, then that would be a great building block, if you will, for the future for this team.
Yeah, I think expectations need to be tempered. More and more I look at things, and you just pointed something out. One, how young we are. Two, man, our defensive line is extremely undersized. I did not realize how small our D line was, and really, until I was reading last night something someone posted on Hoist Colors, we have got an extremely small D line. So then you just look at the lack of offensive success. You guys realize we haven't scored a touchdown since Connecticut?
Well, actually, in Cincinnati, because we missed the PAT.
Oh, did we miss the PAT? Well,
yeah, we had a long, about a 75-yard touchdown pass to Madrion Vines.
Okay, I was just looking at the scores, and I saw 6-3-6, and I didn't remember that play. Okay, so we did score a touchdown pass against Cincinnati, but that's it. We scored one touchdown then against Connecticut. So these guys need some confidence, man. It's just. It's hard to believe that in 3 football games going back to last year we've scored one touchdown. These boys need some confidence. It's a shame Holton, had the unfortunate fumble going in the end zone last week. I really do think, I don't think it would have made a difference in terms of who won and lost the game, but it would have certainly made a difference on the scoreboard, and I think it would have gave this offense a lot of confidence, much needed confidence, and hopefully they'll get that against Gardner Webb. And it's like Donnie K said today at the press conference, kind of filling in there for Coach Houston. We're not going to score 70 points in one drive. So just take it a drive at a time. The guys don't need the pressure this week. Don't worry about blowing them out by halftime. Just win the damn game.
And as far as that goes, you want to take a look at what Gardner Webb presents defensively?
Sure, go ahead.
That's what in the open, Kyle. So you reference how they're a 3-3-5, a 3-3 stack scheme, much like NC State. So that's one of the things that Donnie Kirkpatrick in Wednesday's practice report, and that's available on SoundCloud. Go back and check that out if you haven't already done so. But in those comments, DK was just talking about how with Gardner Webb operating out of that same scheme, don't be surprised if they use a lot of the same stunts and blitzes and so forth that NC State had success with. And so we'll have to be prepared in that way. But a little about their personnel up front, they have some big boys in that front three. One of those is actually a guy that has a connection to linebacker Aaron Ramsor of the Pirates. His older brother, Josh Ramsor, one of 4 older brothers. And that's why he's the starting nose guard, 5'11", 292. He had 5 tackles and a TFL against Charlotte, and he's a guy who missed last year with an injury, and he was an All-Big South selection in 2017. And so he's someone to certainly keep an eye on. Kind of not quite as heavy, but kind of like Terry, the swamp monster Williams there in the middle. And then they also have a defensive lineman by the name of John Singleton, who's a load to block sometimes, it seems. And as far as who led them in tackling against Charlotte, Cam McCutcheon, defensive back, registered 11 tackles. He's 6'3", right at 200 pounds, so nice big defensive back. And then they forced 3 turnovers, at least 3 turnovers, 3 interceptions to be more specific. And Devin Mines, who's a senior strong safety, a 3-year starter, he had 2 of those picks. So the 49ers did roll up over 500 yards of offense, with more than 320 of those coming on the ground. Another guy to look out for is linebacker Darian Reynolds, 6 foot, 225 pounds, and he had made the transition from a weak linebacker position to the Mike or middle linebacker position this fall, and so he's a guy that he's an All-American candidate. He had 9 tackles against Charlotte, so that's some of the personnel to keep an eye on, and they do return 10 starters on that side of the ball.
Good job making them sound like the Clemson Tigers there, Bubba. You're a regular Lou Holtz.
Yep. Hey, always talk up your opponent.
That's right. No, you're right. I agree with you 100%. And 10 starters back on defense. That for an offense that has had absolutely no success recently. That's key. We have talent on offense. I think a lot of this crap is mental. I do think we need to learn how to be physical running the ball. Coach Houston talked earlier in the week. One of the big things we have to work on is schematics, X's and O's. None of that stuff. It's learning how to play 100 miles per hour every play and give 100% and play with great energy. I want to make a point here. A lot of people talked about Coach Ruff. Maybe he wasn't a great X's and O's coach, so-and-so. One thing you never had to hear was his teams didn't play hard and didn't give good effort. And that is something I think a lot of people forget and take for granted. Getting kids to bust their ass, play hard, and go, all game long. You got to want to play for your coach. You got to have that instilled in you. And when Ruffin was here, we did that. And Coach Houston is trying to get these guys back to doing that because it wasn't being done when Montgomery was here because they didn't practice that way. And I do think that's one of the biggest things because you can't fix talent issues, during the season. That has to be addressed through recruiting. But one thing you can do, no matter how talented you are as a football team, is give great effort and play as hard as you can. And that's something, I heard Coach Houston address, and it just made me think back when when Coach McNeil was here, that's one problem we never had.
Yeah, and a little bit more as far as this matchup between the Pirate offense and the running Bulldog defense. That's what I did say that they rolled up more than 500 yards of offense, they being the Charlotte 49ers. But early on in that game, Gardner Webb got a couple of stops the first 2 possessions, and then Charlotte made a change at quarterback. And when they brought in the backup quarterback, and I think they probably went into the game planning on playing more than one, but when they brought in a guy by the name of Reynolds, so he's more of a runner, and he ended up running for 70 or 75 yards in the game and really sparked the offense and ended up playing the majority of the snaps from that point on, as you would expect. So don't be surprised to see Holton Ahlers really have an opportunity to make some plays this weekend, and hopefully others, whether Darius Penix, Husan Howell, Demetrius Mooney, whoever, from the running back position. I'm really wanting to see us definitely eclipse the 200-yard mark, if not more, against Gardner Webb.
I just want to see a win.
Well, absolutely. Well, whatever it takes. But, after rushing for just 41 yards against NC State, Coach Shank and DK and staff, that's going to be a real emphasis this week. And also, I want to see us hopefully provide Holton the time, as you would think that we'd be able to connect on some deep balls. Maybe you saw Audie Amatosho catch a deep ball from Reed Herring late in that ball game against the Wolfpack. So he's someone that I would not be surprised in this week and moving forward to see emerge as a deep threat.
Hey, by the way, Bubba, I've been playing Bubba tonight, but I actually saw another stat that was interesting that you and I talked about, and Kyle as well. Speaking of the running game, you look at Holton Ahlers, Darius Penix, and Husan Howell only have a 100-yard rushing game in their career. I just found that I guess that makes sense, but it just you would think they would have more than that, but I guess that makes
that doesn't surprise me at all.
Now, as far as Husan Howell's concerned, I know one of his top, if not his top game was against Tulane. You remember that game, Kyle? He had a nice run where it seems like he made a nice cutback run going toward the boneyard of about 30 to 40 yards.
Yes, yeah, I do. I do. We came up a little short, but yeah, I do remember that play. So,
but and something else to take a look at, the special teams matchup. One of Gardner Webb's 4 touchdowns in that game against Charlotte was a true freshman returning a kickoff 99 yards for a touchdown. So that's something that Coach Tesh and the special teams will have to be aware of, and that was freshman wide receiver Devron Harper.
Yeah, after week 1, that is one aspect of the game I do feel good about. It's our special teams now. We did have the kickoff called back for the block in the back.
Yeah.
That happened. But I feel good about special teams. Hey, guys, you guys want to get to our very special guest?
Yes, let's do it. In fact, Bubba, he's entering his 32nd year as the voice of the Pirates. In fact, I was in high school in 1988 when he started. And, of course, I'm talking about the voice of the Pirates, the strongest voice in all America. I'm talking about Jeff Charles. Let's go to him right now. Well, it's the second week of the football season for East Carolina. And, Bubba, we have a very special guest now.
Yeah, very excited to have the voice, Jeff Charles, on the show. And, voice, welcome in.
Hi, Bubba. Hi, Dave. How you guys doing?
Good. And Kyle from LaGrange. Jeff, before we get started with football out of the gate, I wanted to say how happy and thrilled I am with all that's going on in the last few years with you and public speaker now you've done for many years. But I want to give you the opportunity again to talk about mistletoe therapy. I think that's been really big and huge for you, and it's been an inspiration to me. So I wanted to give the floor to you to talk about that first right out of the gate.
Well, Dave, I appreciate that. Every time I do get the opportunity to talk publicly about it, I cherish that because it's something very near and dear to my heart, quite frankly.
Right.
Without the mistletoe therapy, I don't know if I would be here doing this interview with you guys here today. It has been a godsend for me, and it's just such a shame that in this country we don't know more about it because it has been used in Germany and many European countries since 1920 to treat people with cancer with terrific results. And unfortunately, in this country, again, it's an unknown. There are some reasons for that we can get into probably on another show, but at the end of the day, it's a terrific cancer treatment. And just to refresh everybody's memory, very briefly, most people do know my story, but I was diagnosed with colon cancer and metastasized to my lungs back in December of 2012. Went the usual treatment route that people do in this country, which is radiation, chemotherapy, and surgeries. Went through a 3.5-year battle with that. The cancer came back, and guys, 70% of the time, people who undergo chemotherapy treatment, the cancer does come back, and that's what happened with me. It started in my colon, metastasized to my lungs, and again, I had seven different surgeries. After the seventh one, I thought, well, what am I going to do here? I don't know if this is working or not, and so I decided to go a different route, and I went with a natural, holistic approach to cancer, which again saved my life. I went to Namaste Health Center in Durango, Colorado, and I was out there for 3 weeks and received mistletoe therapy. People say, well, what is mistletoe? Well, it's just like what you think about at Christmas time. It is a plant, and my medicine, the substance from the mistletoe, actually comes from Germany. It comes from a pine tree in Germany. It is processed in Switzerland, comes into this country, and then I get it at my house, and I do a mistletoe injection every other day. Mistletoe is designed to do 2 things. It is designed to boost your immune system, and you must have a very strong immune system to fight any type of disease that your body might have, and then it's also designed to kill cancer cells. So I've been on this now over 3 years, and it has been terrific. I continue to do the treatments, as I mentioned to you guys. It just takes a few seconds every other day. And then I also watch my diet. I have a nutritionist that watches my diet very closely. And I've always been, as you guys know, a workout guy, and I continue to work out just about every day. So you combine all those things together, and here I am feeling like I'm 30 years old and going full speed ahead these days. And I'm very grateful. I'm a very lucky guy, very grateful that things have turned out like they have, and it's been the support of the Pirate Nation and also some wonderful, wonderful naturopathic doctors in Colorado that got me back on the right track.
Jeff, it's Kyle. I had someone reach out to me about 2 years ago, and or I reached out to them. Basically, I saw they were on Facebook and they were looking for an alternative for their husband to get treatment. That radiation, chemo wasn't working, and I gave her your email, told them to get in touch with you. Is that something you're okay with? People reaching out to you personally about information about mistletoe therapy?
Oh, very much so, Kyle. In fact, I probably on average talk to 2 or 3 cancer patients a week, and we give them the opportunity to go out to Namaste Health Center in Durango, Colorado, and we have sent a number of people out there over the last year or two, and they've all gotten very good results. It's a wonderful clinic with wonderful people again, and yes, that's something I do. I feel a great responsibility to get the word out about this, because I know how tough it is to go through the normal treatment process here. And again, we really cherish the opportunity to talk with people, and hopefully we're helping people out there.
And I know that you went and spoke at last year. I know at the convention, I think it's Johns Hopkins. Is that somewhere where can people find out more information or donate money to help for the research?
Yeah, that's another good question, Dave. And yes, let me suggest a couple of different websites.
Okay.
Number one, the website that I would suggest is called BelieveBig.org, and that is based out of Baltimore. And I do work with them in raising money. We still have our Jeff Charles bobbleheads that are available at UBE, and every single penny from the proceeds of those bobbleheads goes to BelieveBig.org, and what they do is then they go ahead and give that money to Johns Hopkins in Baltimore to continue the clinical research trial. We've gone through the first trial, the first step, and it's into step number 2 now, but it takes millions of dollars and a lot of time to get mistletoe or any natural product like this regulated and also approved by the FDA. Now, why that is so important is that when it does become FDA approved, which we think that will happen someday, then insurance will cover these mistletoe treatments. See, now, like in my case and everybody else who goes out to Namaste or another treatment facility that mistletoe is offered and you receive it, you have to pay for it out of your own pocket. It's not covered at all by insurance. Well, we hope someday it will be covered. So BelieveBig.org is a great resource. They talk about all the different types of services that they issue and have for cancer patients. It's a wonderful lady, is the lady that started it. Her name is Evelise Page, and she now lives in Colorado, but she started it in Baltimore, and it has just great information. And then let me give you one more other website that I really found out about Believe Big from this website, and it's called CHRIS, spelled with a C, CHRIS, CHRISbeatcancer.com. And this is a young man in Memphis who was diagnosed with cancer when he was 28 years old. I think he's about 40 or 41 years old now. And he never took chemo, even though he was told that he needed to live. He decided not to do it. And he went with a natural approach, and here we are, I guess, now 12 or 13 years down the road with him. And he has a wonderful website that he put together that, just has great information regarding a natural approach to cancer. So that's another very, very good website. So there are a couple of them there. And, when you just start hunting and pecking on the Internet, you find different things here and there. But those two are a really good start.
Well, Jeff, we're always we started back in the spring of 2018, and I told you every time I made that promise to you that I wanted to get the word out in case people have missed other episodes. But certainly I'm really proud and happy that you're now in the 32nd season of, I believe it's the voice of the Pirates. And let's shift gears now to football. I know that the score was 34-6, but as the voice of the Pirates, you had to be happier with, I guess, the play. It seemed like the players never gave up, and there was certainly some bright spots on Saturday, Labor Day weekend for the Pirates.
Well, Dave, you're right. They never gave up. And Marty Pure, who does such a great job with us on the network on the sideline, he's in his 27th year now.
Wow.
Like after the game and even during the game, Marty would report to us on the air and say the coaches are just going up to these players consistently during the game and saying, keep fighting, don't throw in the towel. Things are tough right now, but you got to fight your way through it. And that's what this coaching staff, that's the message they're trying to get across to these players. And I thought they did that on Saturday. I thought they gave great effort. There's a great buy-in and chemistry with this football team right now, and they're trying to change the culture. I know we've talked a lot about that. This is a major rebuilding job. This is the first brick this year in a brand-new foundation. So it's not going to be easy, and we knew going into this year, and if you listen very closely to Coach Houston and what he says, he continues to preach that, hey, adversity is going to come, and we're going to find out who we are with this football program if we can fight through the adversity. And there are going to be a lot more potholes coming up this season. So we'll see if he can get that changed, because, as we all know, that needs to improve here with the program. And that's kind of the very first thing he's trying to get done. So, yeah, defensively, I thought they hung in there pretty well. They played pretty hard. They did have some missed assignments, and that's going to happen, especially in the secondary. We saw that on Saturday. I was disappointed that the offense didn't move the ball better and didn't score a few more points. They've got some work to do there. The offensive line certainly needs to improve. The running game and the receiving unit needs to get better. Holton Nailers needs to play better, but then I kind of give Holton a pass on some things because, he didn't have much of a chance. NC State's defense so dominated the line of scrimmage that, his opportunities were limited. I think we'll see a different offense coming up this week with Gardner Webb. But, yeah, there were some good signs. And John Young punted the ball great, 49-yard average in 7 punts. And Verity did miss one. But, I mean, my goodness, it was a 52-yarder, so it wasn't exactly a small, short field goal. So, there were some good signs, and I thought that Tyler Snead gave the Pirates, a good look on special teams with his punt returning and kickoff returning. So that's something the Pirates have lacked in past years. So we're looking forward to him maybe being able to improve that unit. So, yeah, there were some good signs, but disappointing the Pirates only put 6 points on the board.
Jeff, were you surprised that we didn't utilize Holton more in design runs? Obviously, it wasn't going to be like it was last year, where at times he was used almost exclusively as a running back at the quarterback position. But I kind of thought we'd see more design runs from Holton. Were you surprised that we didn't utilize him more that way?
I think we'll see that, Kyle, moving forward. Yeah, somewhat. I just think that, they just had so many issues up front in blocking North Carolina State's defensive line that, his opportunities were limited. And I know people were saying after the game, well, why didn't they throw deep? And, he just didn't have any time. I mean, if you're going to throw deep, you've got to have some time to let your receivers get downfield. And the offensive line play just has to improve from what it was this past week. So I think we'll see some new wrinkles coming up on Saturday. It's going to be a better matchup in the trenches for the Pirates this week with Gardner Webb, and it will be interesting to see if they open the playbook up a little bit.
Jeff, this is Bubba, and that's what Dave referenced. I mean, obviously you've seen more than 30 years of Pirate athletics, and you've seen, I guess, this is AD number 5 or so now, and tons of head coaches and a lot of different ways of doing things. So with this new regime, just talk about the positive momentum that's been developed over the last 9 months and all the things that they're doing to try to get Pirate Nation back into the fold, such as the new Pirate Walk, the availability to come on the field after the game, and those sorts of things.
Well, Bubba, it's all about the fans, and it's all about being fan-friendly, and this new administration with John Gilbert as the athletics director and Ryan Robinson very much involved in fan engagement. I mean, they're reaching out to the fans as much as they can, and I think that's a great thing. Have a kids zone that we'll see for the first time coming up on Saturday. At the end of the day, this is a business, and it's entertainment business, and you've got to give the fans what they want. That's why you see so many interactive type things now at stadiums and internet access and Wi-Fi access and everything else, because that's what people want now when they come to games. So if you're going to attract people to your games, you have to offer these type of things, and East Carolina is certainly going to do that. And this coming game on Saturday is going to be a game in which you'll see some new features and things like that. And Mike Houston's very much on board with that. Some coaches are better than others as far as interacting with fans, but with Mike, since the first day he got here, he is really trying to reach out to ECU fans and engage them, which he has. He went to every spring Pirate Club Armada this year. I think we had 12 of them this year. He went to every single one of them. He's been very involved in the community, and anytime people want him to speak at the service clubs, he's out there doing that. And we all know that there is repair work to be done with the fan base, and that's what is ongoing right now. Now, I wish that on the field and off the field we could all snap our fingers and everything would change overnight, but as we all know, that's not the way it works. And there has been a trust factor broken with the fan base. And so even though a lot of people are excited and enthused about this year, there's still a portion of the fan base that is a portion of them that want to say, show me what you're going to do, and then maybe we'll get back on board. So we can talk about it all we want, but going to have to get on board with some wins on the field to get some of these people back engaged again in the football program.
Jeff, where would you? I don't know how to word this right. This coaching staff, you've been around, for over 30 years at East Carolina. Where would you? I don't want to say rank the coaching staff. How would you compare this coaching staff to other coaching staffs that have been here? To me, when you look at it, the experience, it seems very similar to maybe some of Skip's coaching staffs.
Yeah, Kyle, I thought that's what you were going to say, Skip staff, and I think you are right. I'll tell you this one brief little story. My local radio station here in Greenville, on my show, From the Booth, 6 o'clock on Wednesday night. I remember back 6 years ago when Lenore Ryan was making a run in the Division II playoffs, and I was watching their scores, and quite frankly, I did not know who the coach was at Lenore Ryan at the time, and they got to the semifinal round, and I'm thinking this is really a good story. We have a program in our state that could win a national championship. And so I called over to Lenore Ryan, found out that the head coach was Mike Houston, and I got Mike on the line, and we did a nice interview on my show on From the Booth, and he came on for 10 or 12 minutes, and we talked about him and his career and his football team. And I remember, guys, hanging up the phone from that interview 6 years ago, thinking to myself, if the timing would ever be right for this guy and for ECU, he would be a terrific coach for the Pirates. And lo and behold, here we are now, 6 years ago, and he is here. And I'm totally sold on Mike Houston. I believe he's going to win here. And for a coach to win, he has to have a great staff. And he has a really, really great staff here. Steve Shankrather, Johnny Kirkpatrick, they've been here. They know the deal. They know the drill. They're outstanding coaches, veteran coaches. They've been there, done that. They've seen it all. It's great to have guys like that. And also other guys like Bob Trott, who's been everywhere, including the NFL, and some other very veteran coaches on this team. Jeff Hansen's been everywhere. He's a veteran coach, too. So they've got a good combination, Kyle, of the older guys that I have mentioned, and then they've got that youthful experience as well of some young guys who have a few years under their belt, but they're very young, very enthusiastic. And, you have to have that, I think, in your staff. I think you have to have the veteran guys and the younger guys, too. And Mike's done a really good job of mixing that together and having that kind of a staff here in Greenville. I think this is one of the best staffs I have seen since I've been here. I think Bill Lewis had a really good staff when he was here. And, when you talk about coaches who have good staffs, usually you talk about good football teams. And so that's the next step. I think the coaches are here, and they're going to get after it in recruiting, too, and that's so very, very important. This is not an easy job here recruiting-wise, and they're going to really bust it 24/7 in recruiting. And these guys will do that, and these guys will coach them up on the field. And I think Pirate football with these guys in very good shape now moving forward.
And, Jeff, I wanted to mention the fact that we're talking on about our wrap-up show on Sunday. I just want to make sure Pirate fans understand that this is – I know you and I talked about this at the press conference, the very first press conference for NC State. This is a rebuilding experience program for this program. The program has gone down so far, it's going to take – it's kind of like a rung of a ladder. I think we're still on the first rung, so to speak.
Well, it is, Dave. It's a big rebuilding job. There's no question. 3 straight 3-9 speaks for itself. And Ruff had a losing season his last year here. So that's 4 straight losing seasons now for the program. It's hit on tough times. I mean, let's not sugarcoat it. That's what it's been. It's been a tough product to watch on the field. Internally, there were issues. Now that has all changed. Attendance went down. Revenues went down. Just about everywhere you look, East Carolina's been through a tough time with this football program and with this athletics program. And like I said earlier, you can't snap your fingers and change it overnight. It's going to take time. And, this is a real simple business. When you win games, people get excited and they come out and they support you. When you lose games, it makes it tough on a lot of different areas. And especially with East Carolina, and guys, you're right, I've been around here a long time. And one thing about East Carolina that's maybe a little different than some other places, although there are some other places like this, it's just football here that has to be successful. It's great if the baseball team is winning. If Joe Dooley can get basketball turned around and they start winning, that's going to be terrific. But let's face it, at the end of the day, East Carolina being successful, it has to have a winning football program. And then everything else just kind of falls into place after that. So it's such a priority. And even through the tough times, what is really good to know is that there's still that commitment there from the administration and from the alumni that, hey, I know it's tough, but we're not going to give up the ship. We're going to continue to plow forward. And that's why that $60 million Town Bank Tower is up there, which is a beautiful facility that Pirate fans will see coming up this Saturday. That's a tangible asset, something that people can look at and say, yes, there is a commitment here. And there's going to be an indoor practice football facility one of these days. Can't tell you exactly when, but I can tell you that they are already planning that. They're already talking about how much money that they are going to have to raise to build that. That's going to be a reality at some point, probably in the near future, if they can get the funding together, and they're working on that as we speak. So all those things are in place. They've done so many things to the locker room and the training table and all the rehab facilities now. So there's no turning back. Everybody's moving forward, and you have to, or you're going to get left in the dust, because all these American Athletic Conference teams you're competing against have made commitments, and if you don't stay up with the Joneses, you're going to continue to lose ground, and people at East Carolina don't want to do that. There's always been an aspiration here to be as good as you can be, and that really hasn't changed through what's been a tough period. So it's still a commitment here. People still want this program to be good, and they're willing to make the commitment to do that.
Jeff, talk a little bit more, if you will, about Town Bank Tower. You've been up there in the single wide of the sky for several years now. So it's got to be cool for you personally to be in that brand new facility calling games starting this weekend.
Yeah, Kyle, it really will be. The single wide in the sky. You're right. That's what we called it for all of those years. But for us personally, with the radio network, we had a really nice radio network booth, and it was spacious, and we had everything we needed. It was really nice, and so we needed the new press box facility for a lot of different reasons, but I never had any complaints about where we worked, because it was always good on Saturday. But it's going to be nice having the new facility. They did us right. I think we're about at the 45-yard line where our booth will be. We're up there a lot higher than where we used to be, but we've got a great vantage point to call the games again this year. And I'll be honest with you, when we build new facilities at ECU, I never go into them until like the day before or a week before or whatever, because I don't want to run the risk of being disappointed. And I remember when Williams Arena, Minges Coliseum, was renovated. My goodness, that's been 1995. And I remember I did not walk in there until the night before the first basketball game, and I was blown away at what they did with that space. And they did a wonderful job with this, and what was, as we all know, basically a high school gym, and they did a remarkable job in transforming that. Well, same thing with this. I didn't go in there until about 2 weeks ago, and I was blown away at how nice it is. And Pirate fans are going to really enjoy the hospitality areas and the suites and all of that. So they've done a great job with it. I think on our floor, which is the top floor for media, they're going to be able to seat 102 media members, and then they have the radio booth, the television booth, and some other boxes up there as well. But, on a given day, just on our floor of a big game, there are probably going to be 150 to 175 people just on that one floor. So shows a lot of progress. It's something that was needed. Again, we're in this to keep up with the Joneses with capital improvement projects. And you go to these other schools and you find these beautiful new press facilities and corporate boxes and hospitality areas, and we were lacking in that area, but we've caught up now, and this is a really nice facility.
Jeff, as far as Gardner Webb, what do you think? I know that I heard you say on the broadcast, again, a huge fan of yours and listen every game, 49-28. I know you said that they lost on Thursday night to Charlotte. What do you think about coming into Dowdy-Ficklin on Saturday? I think you said they have 17 returning starters.
Yeah, Dad, you're exactly right. And thanks for listening. And by the way, Carol McCray, who is their head coach, he'll join me on Wednesday night at 6 o'clock on From the Booth on Pirate Radio. He is a guy that's a veteran coach. He's been around the block. It's been a tough go for him at Gardner Webb. This is his 7th season there, and they've not had a whole lot of success, but they are going to come over with their hair on fire with a chance to shock the world, as the kids like to say, and playing East Carolina on Saturday. Now they scored 28 points against an FBS team, so that shows that they can move the ball and score some points offensively. Defensively, they had problems giving up 49 points. They gave up 508 total yards in that game. So they're jumping into the fire here, playing a couple of FBS teams right out of the gate. I'm sure their players are excited about that. But let's be honest, they're going to be an underdog coming into Greenville. The Pirates need to take care of business on Saturday. You don't ever overlook an opponent. You respect everybody that you play. And Mike Houston being the type of coach that he is, I'll guarantee you that that won't be an issue with his players coming up on Saturday. They'll come out there and get after it. And I know ECU players are excited to play at home. They've gone through, guys, a really tough camp. Every player that I've talked with, they all say the same thing. This has been the toughest camp we have ever had. So they've invested their blood, sweat, and tears into this thing, and I sure hope they come out and play well on Saturday and are rewarded for all that hard work and effort and walk out of there with their heads high and feel pretty good about themselves going up to Navy then next week. And that would be a great reward for these kids who have worked so very hard. I'm excited about the game on Saturday because East Carolina has a lot of young players, a lot of young kids playing who are excited about playing. This is a great opportunity for them to get better and to improve this week. So I hope a lot of folks come out for the home opener at 6 o'clock on Saturday.
Jeff, has there been any talk? Have you heard any talk from the administration about the potential of the hurricane coming Thursday or Friday? Are they watching it closely if it happens to affect anything?
Kyle, I've not had any conversations with them about that. I will learn a little bit more about that tonight. We have our call-in radio show with Coach Houston at Logan's tonight at 6 o'clock, and there will be folks from the administration there, and we will ask them about that, be able to pass that information along. I haven't yet talked to anybody, but tonight I will, and I am sure that they are looking into it and trying to decide what's going to be the best thing to do.
Yeah, and you can listen to that on 94.3 The Game at 6 p.m.
That's correct.
And Jeff, as we're wrapping this up, you referenced the tremendous past that Coach Dooley has in turning around men's basketball. Obviously, a major roster overhaul has occurred there. So have you had the opportunity to watch them practice or work out any, and what can you tell us?
Yeah, I have just a little bit, Bubba, off and on, 11 new guys, which is, like you say, it's a totally new team with the exception of really two guys. Jaden Gardner's back, and Steph Leday is rehabbing, and Coach Dooley just told me the other day they expect him to be ready to go by game one. So that's the good news. But all these guys are new. They're a lot taller. They're a lot more athletic. They look a lot more like an American Athletic Conference team, which East Carolina has not looked like. So that is a good thing. It's going to be really interesting to see how all the parts will mesh together. And Joe and his coaching staff, that will be one of their top priorities, obviously. Who who's going to start and how many minutes is this guy going to play and what position is this guy going to play, because they've got a lot of interchangeable parts on this team with a lot of guys who are almost the same size. So it'll be interesting to see how all that flushes out. It's going to be a really interesting year. And I think Pirate fans are excited about it. They see 3 7-footers on this roster, which is pretty amazing in its own right. And, that's what I've been telling people when they ask me about basketball. I say, hey, East Carolina's got 3 7-footers on this basketball team this year. And
That's
they kind of
crazy.
raise their eyebrows and say, really? I say, yeah, just check out the roster. So we're excited about it. It'll be another big-time challenge. This is one of the best basketball conferences, as you guys know, in the country. So it's not going to be easy, even with these newer, talented guys who are coming in, because you're playing against some terrific talent and terrific players. But I think Joe and the guys will be up for the task. He's got a great staff, amazing guys, how hard they recruit. I've never been around a bunch of guys who recruit harder than Joe and his coaching staff. They are on the road 24/7, looking under every rock they can to find basketball players, and they will go anywhere to find a player. And so Joe, he's got that great work ethic. So do his coaches, and they'll improve this program. There's no question.
It's going to be great, Jeff. And you guys are on the air at is it 5 o'clock for the network? I know 94.3 the game and 107.9. It'll be a few hours before that for the pregame. But you guys, for your actual pregame, would it be 5 o'clock for the network?
Yeah, Dave, you're right. We go on an hour before kickoff time on the network, and we'll be on at 5 o'clock. Our network is throughout most of North Carolina, into portions of South Carolina. We have a station in Myrtle Beach that carries this. We have a station in Norfolk that carries this in Virginia. So the network really does go into 3 different states, and so it's always great to have the feedback that you give me and from all of our Pirate fans who listen faithfully each week, and we appreciate each and every one of them.
Sure thing. And folks, I want to remind you, for the people that love the TuneIn Radio app, you can also, the network has where you can listen on that. That's the way I listen in the stadium on the TuneIn Radio app. So make sure you, for the coach's show on Monday nights, or certainly for the games, you can listen to that. It's a really cool thing that's happened over the last couple of years.
Yeah, it is. We have a lot of people that do that, Dave. And, the technology has come so far. And I've mentioned this before, maybe even to you guys, but back when I started doing this at ECU, we had what was called Team Line, which was an 800 number that you would call, and you would get the radio broadcast on your telephone, and a lot of people did that. In fact, so many people did that years and years ago. We had more calls to that Team Line number than any other radio network in the country, and I still got that sheet framed that we would get the results from at the end of the year, and they would track, that company would track how many calls that you received, and we had more calls than any other network in America that one particular year. So that just shows you how loyal Pirate fans are and how much they enjoy listening to the games, and we certainly enjoy bringing them all the action every week.
Looking to a voice, want to wish you and your family a happy Labor Day, and enjoy that. Thank you for spending time on the holiday, and as you're getting ready for Gardner Webb, and hopefully we can keep this storm, the Hurricane Dorian, out of here.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys. Let's hope so. And Dave and Kyle and Bubba, we appreciate you guys, everything you do for the Pirates. It was great to visit with you.
What a great guy. I enjoy talking about. He's had such a remarkable journey with the cancer. We talked about that, and certainly with everything he's had to deal with. And, his platform of being the voice of the Pirates, I really believe, has been now it enters another chapter for him of life when he can talk to folks about Mrs. Total Therapy. I just thought that was cool, and it reminded me, guys, as we're doing this, dropping this podcast, our very own coach of the Pirates, Mike Houston, is laying his father to rest today. So I want to give our thoughts and prayers out to the family once again for in Franklin, North Carolina, the brother, sister, and of course the mother of, and obviously the spouse of Bill Houston. And not to be a somber moment, but it just reminds you of how precious life is, and there's more than the game of football. It's the game of life.
Absolutely. Thoughts and prayers to Coach Houston and his family, and particularly his mother, Coach Houston's mother, his father's wife, particularly thoughts of her. She's going to need probably more love and support than anybody through this.
And we, of course, our last podcast talked about that. So if you get a chance to listen to that, I tell you what, guys, I'm fired up. One thing I want to talk about before we go
about the weather for a minute, Dave. Everybody out there, everybody out there, as we drop this on, I guess we're going to drop this on Thursday.
Correct.
The hurricane's going to be coming through. It's going to, I think, as we see on Wednesday night forecast I'm looking at, I do think we're going to see a landfalling hurricane right along the coast somewhere between Wilmington and I think somewhere between Wilmington and Ocracoke. I think that'll pass over. And that's just, me going by the models I see. The scary part is it appears to be reorganizing. The eye seems very defined, and it may be strengthening. So we may be dealing with a Category 3.
Right.
So everybody, if you're from the coast, anywhere in eastern North Carolina, east of Raleigh, needs to be prepared and take it serious. I think maybe we had our guard down a little bit briefly, and it's time to get the guard back up. Hopefully it won't be that bad, but, if it is, let's hope everybody comes through this unscathed, no major damage, no loss of life. And let's hope we can play a football game Saturday.
Well, yeah, and I want to mention, too, folks, that, Bubba, I don't know if you guys saw, I sent you an email, but on ECPirates.com, folks, if you haven't seen it, check out the article on there. They're talking about the new stuff this season. Of course, Talmage Tower, we've talked about that a lot. Coach Houston is brand new to the program, and some of the assistant coaches, but a lot of cool stuff. We alluded to it. We talked a little bit last podcast, but Bubba, for the pregame and preview, if you will, for the Gardner Webb game, I know you. I'm not sure if you're going to bring your kids, but they've got the kids zone. I love that idea for people to have kids. It's something that we've desperately needed. I've been talking about it. That's a way to get your kids involved early in the game. They've got all kinds of cool stuff. Face painting. They're going to have. I know there's a whole bunch of bouncy houses, inflatables. Some people say, and all throughout the game. So it's, I believe, the gate section number 4, and should be a great thing there. Love the food trucks they're going to have there. They're going to have, smash waffles, Kona ice,
Simply Natural Creamery ice cream.
Yeah, ice cream. Yeah. So
those are two things: Simply Natural Creamery, and then also Smash Waffles that I've heard so many folks rave about. You guys included. That I'm going to have to try at some point this year.
Yeah, I think you could do something cool, but you could combine the two. You take your Smash Waffles and top them with some butter pecan ice cream.
Oh my God!
And that's something.
If you want, yeah.
And then also the fact that. What Kyle's talking about, not only that, but you have the alcohol for the first. There's a lot of history being made on Saturday, and I think that first time we play in Gardner Webb as well. So that's going to be great, but we're going to have a good time. And I know that one thing I want to mention, guys, too, before I forget, is what about the Pirate Walk? I've never done a Pirate Walk, so I really don't know. I'll be honest, I've never done it. So help me out on that. And I know it's a rerouted Pirate Walk.
What you do is you get a really strong leash and you put your pirate on it. And I did the Pirate Walk back with JT was here actually, and I've been going since. It sounds like they're revamping it, going to make it a lot more accessible and maybe fan friendly. Bubba, talk about it.
Yeah, like you said, Kyle. The first I ever remember a Pirate Walk taking place was back in the JT era, back in 2003, back when old Harrington Field was still there, and then that was just a dirt road, an old dusty path there around Harrington Field, and I remember it then, and then I know under Coach Holtz, they didn't have it all 5 years, but there were some of those years they had it, but it was never really. It was still on that access road around Clark LeClaire Stadium and then and down by the Cliffmore practice facility. So on one side of it, you had a fence where not a whole lot of people could get, and then the other side, not bad. But now I think with the setup, the way it's been the last few years, it hasn't been bad dropping off there on the north side and walking between Minges and the Murphy Center. That's been okay, but I think Coach Houston's vision, as well as this athletic administration's vision, going down through the new premium, or what a lot of people know as the white lot. I think it's going to be awesome with the marching pirates, the spirit squad as they refer to, and cheerleaders, and so I think it's going to be great. Hopefully, folks will be there early, and the weather will cooperate, and they'll walk down toward the new Town Bank Tower, and then hang a left there behind Scales Fieldhouse, and then it will go in between Ward and then also in Scales, and then conclude there in the front side of Ward by the pirate statue. So that will be 2.5 hours before kickoff, and so 6 p.m. kickoff. So that will be approximately 3:30, give or take a few minutes. So
or 2:30, according to.
Yeah, when John Gilbert was promoting it the other night on Coach Houston's show with Jeff Charles, that's what I think he was meaning to say 2.5 hours ahead of time, instead was saying 2:30 p.m. So unless something changes, it should be 3:30. So
that's correct.
But make sure you're there a little bit early, just in case they do start early, because that's happened to me before where I've gotten there at the time announced and then the thing was over. So hopefully it will be well done, as it seems it will be. They put out a video on ECUPirates.com or ECU Pirates Twitter account, and we'll share that on our Twitter account once again, so folks can familiarize themselves with the route. But hope to see a lot of Pirates out there. I certainly intend on making it, and my son Riley will be with me. I know he'll enjoy it, seeing the players walk through there. And if you have young kids, that's something they would enjoy, giving them high fives and so forth.
And go ahead, Dave.
I just want to make a couple quick points. They Coach Houston, and that's another example there where they're the vision that he has. I mean, you talk about a man of details, even the Pirate Wall, and then. How about the media? They're actually feeding the media again. Thanks to John Gilbert and Mike Houston for having the sense to know that you only have about 10, 15 guys. And Jeffrey Comper was the guy who cut the luncheon out during Ruff's tenure because they spent money on big donors with alcohol and desserts rather than to take care of the program. But anyway, they brought back the media luncheon for the press conferences. And how about this, guys? I'm so excited. Our good friend, voice, Jeff Charles. How about you have a call-in show where you can take callers again? I think that's guys like Kyle from LaGrange as a teenager all the way up to the president calling in. I mean, I just think that's a no-brainer. And Coach Houston, my hat's off to you, my friend.
Yeah, no, and hopefully week 3, we'll have a normal call-in show. First week, the phone lines won't work. The second week, you know, unfortunately, but understandably, Coach Houston was with his father, and hopefully week 3 here, Coach Houston will be able to take some calls after. Hopefully, what is an impressive win over Gardner Webb? At least a win, even if not impressive. Let's just win this damn game, get a W, and move on. Guys, we're going to give our score predictions and then get out of here.
Sounds good. Y'all want to go first, or?
Yeah, I'll go. I'm going to say East Carolina. I'm going to say East Carolina 46, Gardner Webb 21.
All right, I'll go next. This is just the first number that came in mind, but I'm going to go East Carolina 49, Gardner Webb 14.
All right.
I'm going to go East Carolina 55, Gardner Webb 17.
All right.
All right.
That
sounds like as long as we get a victory, like you said, but I think we will get the victory. It's just let's pray to God that we won't struggle. And I wanted to mention too, guys, real quick, that if we see the offense move the way they did that first drive, and we can see a few good drives like that, that'll be a good indication of what this team is going to be like. I know it's Gardner Webb, and temper the fact that their level of competition, but some teams struggle. We've seen that. What was I know Indiana and Ball State.
It was East Carolina and North Carolina A&T. That's what I'm thinking of.
No, we lost that game. But I'm saying teams that like win the game and they struggle. Like
Kansas and Indiana State.
Old Dominion and Norfolk State.
Yeah,
that was definitely
great example.
And we got them coming up in a few weeks. So on the 28th, I want to mention that.
Yeah. Hey, and by the way, for folks that are listening to this, if you got Power Friday night, ACC Network, William and Mary will be taking on UVA. If you want to get a preview of the tribe.
Mike London's whole team, right?
Yeah, Mike London. Well, yeah, Mike London, he's the coach there now. So,
no, I'm talking about he used to coach at UVA.
Oh yeah, correct. Yeah,
and
good point.
He's coaching.
Yes, and he's coaching at William and Mary. Yes, good point. Good chance to you don't finding William and Mary on TV isn't something you're going to do every week. So it's an opportunity Friday night to get a look at William and Mary, who will be playing in a couple of weeks in Dowdy-Ficklen.
Yeah, and something else interesting as far as William and Mary is concerned, as far as that game, not specifically the opponent, but as far as that game, Ryan Robinson, in an interview I heard with him earlier this week, he said that that kickoff time will be either 3:30 or 6 p.m., I believe, and that will be, if it's 3:30, it'll be CBS Sports Network, and if it's 6, it'll be ESPN Plus.
Yeah,
or ESPN 3, whichever.
Yeah, I'll look at the schedule and I can probably tell you which one that's going to be, because they're not going to air that game if there's a good FBS versus FBS game to be shown in that CBS Sports time slot. So
right, and I think Ryan even may have mentioned. I think it was pretty much down between us, and then I'm trying to remember the other game, but I can't recall.
Okay, well, I'm hoping. Normally, I would like the television exposure, but it'd be a CBS Sports Network and not an ESPN. I'd rather play at 6.
I agree with that.
So
I think, and hopefully by then we'll have a couple victories to talk about, and then back home. But we're not going to get ahead of ourselves. As Coach Houston says, the most important game of the season is Gardner Webb this week. So let's focus on that. And like he also said, we don't have a good reputation the last couple of years with FCS opponents. So hard to believe that only 3 times that we've actually had a loss against an FCS opponent, 1980, then you had 2017 and 2018. So I had never seen it because I was obviously not a Pirate fan until 1986, and I had not seen that until the Montgomery area. So anyway, good luck to the Pirates. I think we don't have anything to worry about. Take care of business. Go ahead and knock them out early like Mike Tyson. And what do you think, Kyle?
Yeah, sounds good to me. I mean, I'm so gun-shy, I ain't going to say we ain't got nothing to worry about. But, I'm with you. If we can knock them out early, like you said, kill a fly with a hammer, or you do it. It'd be great. It'd be great to enjoy the second half with no pressure and looking at stats.
I think Kyle's going to go to get him a beer in the second half because he's
indeed, yes.
And one note along those lines, guys, as far as getting off to a strong start. It's always good to get off to a strong finish. But no, it's 35-14 at halftime in the Charlotte game, and one of those 2 touchdowns for Gardner Webb had been that kickoff return, and Charlotte had, like I said, gotten off to a slow start themselves, and so the second quarter they really poured it on and scored 28 points. And so that's something to keep an eye on.
And keep this in mind, guys. A lot of people were wanting to, bring up that Charlotte game with Gardner Webb and saying, well, Charlotte did this, so we better do that. Charlotte's actually a more experienced football team than we are. And actually won more games last year than we did.
Yeah.
Who's to say Charlotte, you hate to say it, but who's to say Charlotte may have a better football team than us? So, hope not, but it's possible.
They had a coaching change, and of course, you never know what that's going to bring. Sometimes that can be they had to have a coaching change, I guess, but you don't know how that's going to work out or turn out, especially in year 1 for Charlotte or for East Carolina, for that matter. Or look at Mac Brown's 1-0 back at UNC, so we'll see how that plays out. Well, guys, looking forward to a big crowd. Hopefully we can get, Bubba and I talked about, we're hoping we can get at least, and I know, Kyle, you felt the same way, 35,000. at least. That'd be great to see more than that. The weather's going to be gorgeous. I think, Kyle, it's going to be 79 degrees on Saturday, so it's not going to be 100 where people are passing out in the stadium. It's not going to be real cold. It's going to be a beautiful day to watch a football game.
Yeah, we got a high actually of 85 Saturday with a low
85?
65. High of 85, low 65.
All right.
So at kickoff, it'll probably be in the 70s at kickoff.
Okay. Yeah. So there we go.
And as far as the crowd, Dave, that's what I'm certainly hopeful, like you guys are, for 35 plus. But I've heard John Gilbert and Ryan Robinson say in the last several days, right around that 30,000 mark. So I'd be a little surprised at this point if we get to 35. But hopefully,
that sucks. And you know,
I agree.
The people that were pissed, nobody was more pissed than me. It's time to get over it and support this new coaching staff.
Exactly.
I mean, look, the reason these guys are here is because everybody was pissed and something got done, and now the people here, we need to support them. And if you love this university, like clearly you did, or you wouldn't be pissed, you need to come out and support it, and let's get it back to where it was, and make sure we don't ever let this crap happen again.
That's the whole point.
Absolutely. Well said, Kyle.
Learn from your mistakes, right?
Exactly.
Because when I heard that 30,000 number, I was just furious, just thinking about people not showing up. But we'll see.
For Kyle from LaGrange Barber and Bubba Rosenbaum, I'm Dave Richmond for the Sports Objective Podcast.
You've been listening to the Sports Objective Podcast. Join us next time as the guys will be objective, and the objective is sports.